you'd like to be a part of the 6-month drip, then we'll find a way. You email us or write to us, send us a message, say I want to be a part of that, and we'll try to hook you up with it. We need the email address to do it though. All right. How many of you have been duly challenged here in the first 4 sessions and know that you need to soak in this for a little while? I don't know about you, but I'm as excited about the soak as I am about the shower. We've been in a shower, but the soak is even better when I almost go, oh, I see it now. I see it now. And so this is a beautiful thing. And Marty, thank you. Thank you for your endless energy. And he's talking like that at 11 o'clock at night at our house. I mean, nonstop, just still going. And, Cindy, bless her heart, she finally says, I'm out. She her roam to the bedroom. And I hope you're having those kind of conversations as well. I want to just say thank you, too, to, let's say, the Taylors. I want to honor families that have their children here with them, and especially in the room. Aaron and Andrea, stand up, would you please? This is a phenomenal family. We love these guys. And I'd like for your children to stand up, because these guys, wisdom beyond their years, and it's a phenomenal family. Who else has their young people with them? All right, okay, Waymans, they're scattered here and there. But our kids need to see us worshiping God. Our kids need to see us in the Word and learning from the Lord, and let them learn. Don't let children teach the children. Don't let teenagers train the teenagers. It's ordained by God that the generations would pass down what we have, generation to generation. And so that means that we have to begin to think differently about things. And this is why we've been very slow to start various levels of childhood ministries or youth. We still don't have a youth ministry per se. We'll do it if Jesus tells us to do it. Our commitment here is we don't start anything that the Lord doesn't tell us to start. Why? Because we want our children watching us worship and learn, and let's learn together. Forces conversations. That's what we were talking about, conversations around the table. Amen. What do you think? We ought to turn the spigot on one more time this afternoon? Come on. Give him a hand. Please welcome Marty as he comes.
Am I a spigot? Okay. Okay. Good. I wanted to be clear. I can be that. I will do that. No, it's amazing to be with you all here. You have no idea all the 10,000 other things buzzing around my head that I'd love to pour out. Every once in a while you catch me going, oh, there's a whole... Anyway, here we go. So why do we miss the Spirit in our lives? So this is no small question, because most people do miss the Spirit in their lives. The Spirit's like there. It's like having electricity in your house and the lights are never on, right? It's like, what's up with that? So, led by the Spirit of God leads us into the purposes of God, the Father and the Son. He speaks in simple ways, sometimes so simple, we miss his leading. And again, as you've been hearing me talk about the simplicity of yes and no, yes and no makes no sense if you don't know the power source, the heart of the Father and the voice of the Son, right? But once you go, oh, gracious, compassionate, slow to anger, abounding loving kindness, gracious, forgiving, it's like, what does it look like for me to live saying yes to that? Oh, well, and it comes. It's that simple. Click. So the fruit of disconnection, we're talking about the fruit of the Spirit. So to say the nature of sin, what we call sin, we largely think of it being bad, doing bad things. It's something about our behavior or our thoughts. My uncle once said, I'm so glad people can't see inside my head. Do you feel that? Yeah, and that's a fundamental sense of I'm disconnected and so glad that nobody can see what goes on inside my head, and I can just remain in this isolated place. And then I start singing Simon and Garfunkel's I Am a Rock, I Am an Island. And a rock feels no pain and an island never cries. This is the life of disconnection. It's not about being bad people. It's just we're not tuned in to the very source of life itself. So what happens? We become alienated from God. Don't want to hear your voice. I want to do my thing. Don't get in my way. And then that spills over to other people. We become judgmental. We're going to talk a lot more about that in a minute. Now, the word judgment's interesting. Do you know the difference between the word should and could? What? There is a question of ought in should, right? Who stands behind the should? It's usually the accuser, that's right. But sometimes it's just the people, everyone knows you should do that. And the word everyone, just now you've brought in the jury of everyone, right? Right. So, but can you recognize there is a judgment in this place? You are not considered. Someone else gets to run your life. And, you can say, God has told you you should. And you go, not the God I know. What you're asking is something of me just, not showing up. So the nature of should is fear-based, judgmental, bringing in a phantom set of voices that are telling us what we should do. And it is essentially the law. It becomes a form of law. It's common sense law, in fact. So what about could? Ability, possibility, faithful, invitational, capable. So to say the Spirit lives in the word could. And often I just say, listening, working in counseling, I'm hearing you say should. Can we just change that to could? It's just one letter. Can we just change one letter? You're saying he or she should do this. What if we just say he or she could do this? And let's see if we can come up with 5 other things also that we could do, just so we're allowing the work of the Spirit to give us options we may not have thought of. Even if you think it's impossible, if it's something we could do potentially, but seems like, I don't know how we could do that, let's just throw it out there in the realm of the possible. Sometimes it's, a number of them we bring together, but we're just opening up and saying, there is no law except for the law of love here. Let's proceed with what could be. Because that's what love does. It invites us into what could be. Okay? So again here, it's language, but the language is pointing on to the presence of a chorus of voices who are judging and shutting us down. We're afraid to be wrong. Or the possibility of the Spirit empowering us to live a life of love and just exploring possibilities. It's grace and law. Should and could, grace and law. Choices they're choices of love instead of requirements of law. Absolutely, yes. So we don't do things here unless we're told to do that. It's not a should when that happens, you should do it. It's, you could do that now. Okay, we'll begin the process of listening. What does it look like to have that kind of ministry? Living in the could means that we're not setting up our own barriers, and we're living in the possibility of the Spirit doing something that we couldn't see, right? Could doesn't need to see anything other than that there's a possibility of coming out and exploring what John McMurray calls the field of the future. The past at some level is the field of concrete. We've always done it this way. You should do it this way, right? The should is determined by the past. Could is, nobody's ever gone here before, but let's consider what it would look like for relationships, for the life of this community, for the life of the community that surrounds us here. Could just, it allows it to open up so you can move. What's that? What no eyes? Absolutely. We're starting to see into the realm of the spiritual because we're not clouding it with the realm of the should. Okay? So don't should on me. Okay. So we live in the realm of fruitful, growing in the realm of could. Okay? So judgmental is all that. The one other thing that I would say on that is that In the realm of judgmental, the issue of being right, which we've talked about a little bit, being right is all important. And, there is no one righteous but God alone. And his righteousness isn't used to condemn us or anything like that. The nature of being right, when I am right and you are wrong, I'm blaming you. Blame is born out of being right. Right? So when I start lecturing on being right, I'm starting my lecture on sin. Because I have become the judge. And I know who is wrong. And I've sat with couples that blame. And I finally stop and say, so, whose voice is telling you that she's the problem? It doesn't take, you're accusing her of all these things. Who is the accuser? And it doesn't take a lot to go, oh. So you can see that blame is being right. And it feels so good to be right and make the other person wrong. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. It's just living the life of sin. So if other people are right about me being wrong, what are people going to think if they find out? Do you get that? If they're right about me being wrong, what's the name of that? Shame. Yeah. Shame lives in another form of being right, where we grant to others the ability to judge us, or the fear that they might, and we collapse under it. We can't authentically show up. If I'm right about me being wrong, what's that called? Guilt. That's called guilt. Shame, blame, and guilt. They're all functions of being judges, being right, and none of them in the hands of capable abilities to live from love to judge what's going on. They all just break down, condemn, alienate. They don't do the work that's necessary to be there. There can be no fruit. You cut off not only the fruit, you cut it off at the base. So I'll just quickly, you're doing a beautiful job of moving on because I can get stuck here. Selfishness, decisions for self, confusion, we have no ground for our thinking, laziness, the inability to say, God may be there, but I need to take care of my life. I don't have energy for God. I'll just do it myself. Falsehood is the nature of, if I was found out for who I am, I'd have to give something up. I'd rather just live a life appearing something to people so they leave me alone. Karl Barth in his Church Dogmatics has several hundred pages on sin as laziness, falsehood, and it's not up there, but pride is the third one, right? They're not the traditional things we think of as sin, but they're all the ways we just disconnect from God, right? Lying, masks, these are all the things that, we love to do. We wear masks. Peer pressure, what is peer pressure if not losing ourselves and putting on masks so we look acceptable to other people? Fortunately, that ends when we're done as being teenagers, right? Gone with the wind. Maybe not. So all of those things, it's us becoming something inauthentic, putting on masks, facades, or something so we appear acceptable to others. And we're back to the addiction of acceptance. So we're going on a little trip back to the Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Eden, there was a tree called the Tree of Life. It was the tree of God providing and human obedience. The word obedience comes from the Latin audens, which means to listen intently. Right? So that's the intention in the Garden of Eden, is that Adam and Eve would obey God, and he told them, eat of this tree and anything in the garden except for this other tree. Some people think that other tree was a test, but it was the possibility of obedience. Right? It's a yes tree, not a no tree. If you eat of it, you'll die, but it's not to test you. It's just you have the possibility of not being obedient, and so it's there as that possibility, but obedience says do all this, right? So Eden is the place, the heart of God for the good of humanity. Did God make humanity good? Does God still think that humanity is good? God has made us good. And it's not good to be alone. Are there things we do that don't respond to God's goodness? Okay, and that's us saying no to God's goodness, right? But God doesn't start saying, enough of you, right? God's goodness, God's evaluation of us, that we are good, that he loves us, that we're beloved children, that's unshakable. That's what unconditional love looks like. So, this other tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So if you haven't eaten of that tree, what can't you do? You can't know the difference between good and evil. Right? So let's just call that judging. Right? So somebody else decides good and evil. You don't have that capability. Right? And so God is the one who has that capability. And the day you eat of it, then you'll be able to say, this is good and that is evil. Or we could say, this is yes and this is no. Right? So in the eating of it, something new happens. Suddenly you go, whoa, I'm naked. Right? So this is something we would call, I don't know exactly what's happening for them, but somehow the fact they wanted to be covered up would say there's something about others observing them, so I call that shame. Right? So in this first moment, now they can be right. Now they've pushed the button. They're trying to be like God. They're trying to make those judges, and now the first thing they do is judge themselves. Now when asked, what happened here? She did it. The snake did it. Blame shows up. This is all happening just within moments. Shame and blame are right there. And so they hear God, and what do? They hide. They know that they had done something wrong, and so they hide. I think this is guilt. We know we did wrong. And God, this is the first bad theology. Adam and Eve, bad theology. God's going to get us. Right? And people literally, that's where they go with this. God is going to be the one who's going to come and, enough of you humans. Bad experiment. Next. Right? So they hide, and God comes looking for them, and he finds them and says, so what are you doing? Well, we're hiding. Why are you hiding? And the answer is, we were afraid. Now, is that about God or is that about them? Right? So here's what happens. When sin comes into the world, we become judges. Because judgment in our emotional experience is, in the first instance, survival. If something means I'm not going to survive, that's bad. We go first to our fear to make sure I survive. Loving and choosing the good, that it's an option for things to go good, but it's not as important as surviving. I see that hand.
Would you say that like the fear is based in them not being known any further by their God, in the sense that like when God breathed the breath of life into Adam and Eve, that they were created as spiritual beings,
Yep.
walk and talk with him in the garden, and that when the presence of the knowledge of good and evil came, that spirit departed from them, and so they were actually spiritually dead, and that's why fear had crept in, because it was like the knowledge of God had also left them. Like they weren't understanding God and relating to him in the way that they were relating to him before the fall.
Right. So before the fall, there seems to be no fear. They can walk around the garden, they can be naked, and this is a good life. We can be in Texas, and it's just sunny all the time, no clothes, no problem. When they become judges, well, that's since the fall. When they eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they have a capacity as a human being to do something they couldn't do a few moments before, and that is to recognize threat. Right? There's something has gone wrong. I might lose here, right? And so they still have an awareness of the presence of God, but now everything has the possibility of being threat, including God. Fear becomes a new lens through which we look. And I'm going to be suggesting through the whole of the Bible, you start reading going, wow, fear's like everywhere. Like, you've not been given a spirit of slavery leading to fear again, like Adam and Eve, right? And perfect love casts out fear, like Adam and Eve got. And that's because of the fear of punishment, which is what they were fearing. Right? So you just start going, oh, fear is this new emotion of misreading God because they were lied to. The day that you eat of this, you'll be like God, thinking they get all the good stuff and not recognizing that it actually opened them up to the realm of them becoming judges. And to say they went from being like children who just were able to be loving and obedient This is the teenage step. Enough of you. I'm going to be independent. Independence is another word for the nature of sin. We choose to be independent of God. We make choices in our interest, not in the interest of what it is that God wants for our good. Right? So once again, we just get emotion is at the core of everything here, and the nature of the outflow. It's all relational. It's all listening or not listening, obeying or not obeying, interest in self or interest in others. It's all there. And the nature of the serpent is that he just brings in lies. Right? And so to say the whole of the work that Satan can do is lie. All he needs to do is lie about what God can do and say, you could have what God has. All he needs to do is lie about what God does, and everything starts to unravel. Twisting. Right? So, look at that. Truth and falsehood. So, the nature of fear. Do you know why people lie? They're afraid of the truth. Right? It's really as simple as that. People lie because they're afraid of the truth. I had a couple in counseling once, several sessions. She said, he's a liar. He comes home. She would go on and on about his lying. One day I stopped and I said, so what is it about the way of being that you are with him that makes it necessary for him to lie? Do you get that? People don't lie if it's safe to tell the truth. Right? So again, the truth is what sets us free. And so what does lying do? It imprisons us, it bondage, all that. So the very nature of the work of the cross is, you ready for this? The cross, it destroys all of the lies about God and ourselves. Right? It affirms that God loves us. God isn't waiting to punish us, destroy us, be mad at us, any of those things. And it says, I see it all, and I can be honest and say, you have done these things. I will not let those judgments that come from fear determine who you are. You are my beloved, and I will literally die on the cross to remove the certificate of debt against you, Colossians language here. Everything that could be spoken against you. I will die to remove all of those things that are not true, because I have loved you beyond all those things. And my presence in your life is the restorative presence that says, yes, you did that, and we can tell the stories, but I will only see you with the eyes of love and the could of who you could be as you go on with me, and not the should have, you should have done it differently or better. Right? Okay? So, Satan and the Spirit both have voices. We hear voices in our head, and you think it's your voice, but it's the realm where Satan and the Spirit they're gonna do something in there. And so we have to learn to hear who's talking, right? And so the nature of Satan, he always questions, has God really said? Again, it's about the hearing. It's doing the science of listening. But Satan just questions what God has said, right? And the Spirit always confirms what it is that the Father has said and what the Son say. The birth of a lie is to twist or resist what God has said. So whenever we're lying, we're always choosing something other than what God has said. It ends up a form of disobedience. We could talk about all the ways they play out. In a sense, all the things we call sins, it isn't the issue of the thing that we do. It's the fact that we quit listening to God and we did something that was only serving ourselves. Yeah. And then we try and cover it up. And then we bury it and live the rest of our life hoping nobody finds out. It's the whole Bible. It's changed exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the lying thing keeps showing up. Again, the passage. We have not been given a spirit of slavery. No, I said that one. This is Colossians. Dude, it's there. It's downloading. Yeah. Do not lie to one another, since you've laid aside the old self with its evil practices. Right? We just kind of read lying, that's a simple thing. It's like, no, lying is the Garden of Eden here. It's the lie that enters in, and when you live with a lie, you miss hearing the truth, and so you disentangle your life from God and live otherwise. So resisting what God has said, Satan's power is only to lie, which corrupts, divides, and destroys. So the nature of the work, we can see what's happening. Are things dividing? Are they being corrupted? Are they falling voice? Well, guess who's at work? The Spirit empowers for service of the truth. And again, truth isn't just truth in the head, it's the truth of faithfulness and relationship. When you love someone, you're true to them. It's easy to act like you love them, right? There's a correspondence there. And restore and connect. So you can go on, that's good. Yes and no in our judgment of goodness and evil. So when we are bound to look inward, the inward self leans to no. How's this going to work for me? None of you are this way, I'm sure, Anxiety, processing, what's going to happen? Oh, if I say this, if I don't do that, right? That whole internal world, that's you with Satan tapping on your shoulder going, think about this, think about that. And so if we dwell inside, we easily miss the Spirit because we're trying to wrestle by ourselves. We're not listening, so we become alienated in our introspection, looking in, listening in. We get frustrated with the issues that are before us because we don't have the answers. We can't control the outcomes. We become egocentric. And so to say, the nature of the world we live in today is profoundly inward-centered, egocentric rather than heterocentric, other-centered. And with just those two things, individual, egocentric, we basically are living sin as disconnection with only our own wisdom, with a tap on the shoulder from Satan to live off of. And no wonder things go wrong, right? When we're turned with an outward of yes, the love of the Father, the voice of the Son, the person inside us works with the Spirit outside to see, to listen, to hear. What does love look like here? Who do I connect with? What words can I say to empower, to build up, even to correct a no that's within a yes? If you keep going on this way, I think there's going to be destruction. I really love you, and I want to walk with you for the good to come in your life. Correction is part of loving. Connection and hospitality, it's the very thing God creates us for, is to create space for the other and to be connected. The Spirit focuses us and makes us attentive with our ears and our hearts to get what's going on and to be able to ask what it looks like. Ecstatic is the going out. The third person I did my doctorate on, John Zazoulis, is a Greek Orthodox theologian, and he says, our hypostasis is in ecstasis. You know what that means, right? So hypostasis means being, and ecstasis is going out. And he says, the Father is coming out to meet us, and we are going out to meet the Father. The Spirit is going out to meet the Father and the Son. Each one is going out to meet the other. It's a life of this going out. And so our life with each other is a constant going out to meet the other who's coming out to meet us. Our very being is in this going out and connecting in the dynamic. I like ping pong, and I can almost see, the nature of that going on, except it's 1,000 ways of loving and expressing and living life together that are lived as our very being is not wrestling inside, what's going to work for me, but wow, how do we get to play in this life together? How do we get to live love? How do we serve the people who need us to serve, and how do we celebrate with those who need to be celebrated? How do we weep with those who weep? So love and fear, again, are two basic motives. And one says no, that is fear. You can see the brake pedal over there. And one says yes, that's the gas pedal. And that's what love does. So in every moment of every life, in every decision, we have an opportunity to live from a motive that stops us, slows us, or we have the opportunity to live in a way that moves us forward. So we interpret the world, and we're always going, do I step on gas or brake? And so every moment of our life, we're living an event, and we're trying to interpret what's going to go on here. And it may be what's going to happen to me, or what's going to happen in the situation that I can bring love into an active way of being here. Right? One's gas pedal and one's brake pedal. Our interpretation, our thoughts and our feelings, these are things we've gathered over the years. We've talked a little bit about the nature of the formation of reason and emotion. Sometimes I can't remember if I've said everything. Have I explained that reason is simply well-developed emotion? Okay, so we need to get this down here. So the nature of our emotions is that we get trained into things. If you put a pilot in an airplane who's been trained to do it, they know the feel of the wind, of the pressures. They know all of it. emotionally, and they've come to get the sense of reading the gauges that tell them what's going on as well, so they can read and interpret emotionally what's happening, and we're good or we're not good, right? You put that same pilot in a room with 10 children who are under 9 months old. Are they equipped for that? Suddenly, this very competent person has not been emotionally trained to deal with the situation, which nobody's going to crash here, right? There may be a lot of poopy diapers, but nobody's going to crash. They aren't able to do it because they've not been emotionally trained, and their reasoning developed to the point because their emotions have got to the point where I got it, right? Emotion, don't do this. You got, oh, that worked. Ooh, that child, no. When you become competent, you feel like, I can do this. Now I have the reasonable capacity to do this job. Emotion develops to the point where we forget that our emotions trained us. When we no longer have to think about it, the emotion has just reached a point where it becomes reasonable. And we can't understand why everybody else doesn't think like us. Right? The nature of reason is that it's highly developed emotion. An engineer who builds a bridge and they get a sense of all the tensions and all that, they know the materials, they have the feel for, because of all the work they've done, what's going to work, materials, what kind of factors of pressures and influence are going to factor. Their emotions about what's going to make this work have developed to the point where it becomes reasonable to build a bridge and it withstands all the forces that it needs to. Okay? When you're a parent, there's no instruction book, so you have to learn your emotions engaged with your kids. You have to become reasonable with what works and what doesn't, and you also get what other people have experienced emotionally in training and what works, to the point that you get some of the tools that become reasonable how to proceed forward. Sometimes they become too rigid, and then you're going to get a kid who has issues with that, but oh well. I see that hand. Did you have it? I love that about you. Just bubbling over. And it's good. So, go back just a second. So the nature of fear is always a commitment to self too. So a parent who's afraid of the way they're going to look or whatever, their challenge in parenting is that they're thinking more about themselves than their child. How am I going to look? What are people going to say? Yeah. Right? The judgment of fear makes them focus and not able to be there. And so reactive, resistant, emotional resistance. The nature of resistance is that we don't recognize that just a little bit of resistance, I'm not sure if I want to do that. I say that's fear, and people go, oh, that's not fear. I'm not afraid of that. And I'm going, if there's resistance, there is fear. Right? And we can't, it's so subtle we can't hear it, but it's the reason we say no. And I can unpack people and go, so you're saying no because, have you had something like this before? Yeah, well, that was long ago. Yeah, tell me the story. And then you hear the story and it's like, oh, you ended up getting rejected or scolded or, oh, I see. So this little bit of resistance has a story behind it. And now it's part of controlling your life. And it's fear. And if it's little or it's big, you put your foot on the brake pedal and you're going nowhere. Right? Hey, why don't you come to church with me? Can you hear the resistance? I get so much in counseling just from those noises. Hey, how about trying this? Well, I just go, I can just hear it. I mean, people can't hide their fear from my resistance meter. So it's like, well, let's explore that. Sounds like there's a little resistance there. And I just go in and I just happily dance down the story of their life. And the stories are there. They don't even know they're there. It's like, I haven't thought about this for years. Yeah, probably not. It's today, though. That emotion is started there. It's right here and now, though. Right? You've buried it in the past, but it's activated here and now. Love is a commitment to others, that the nature of who I'm going to be is empowered by the Spirit, to put my foot on the gas pedal, to be proactive in being a contribution. Who I am is a contribution. God put me here on this earth to make a difference in people's life. Carrie's here to be a leader. Cheeky's here to be a co-leader. And to help, what's that? She, yeah, if we ever reduce Cheeky to PowerPoints, that would be like missing Cheeky. So, Cheeky, yeah, let's use the word emotive energy. Cheeky. But you recognize it, don't you? The people who you say, wow, they feel energized, they just know how to love, and they're energized by love, because that's what love does. It energizes us. And that's why I could stand here all day and do this, and I would be more energized at the end. When you're afraid, guess how you feel at the end of the day? Drained. Your energy has all gone into the work of putting up all power to the force fields. So, resistance drains us, energy builds us up. Following the life of God is an energizing, life-giving thing, and we have life enough to give to everyone. Fear focuses on ourselves, and we barely have enough to keep ourselves up. Nothing to give to anybody else. Too much energy going to self. Click. What is a healthy hearted relationship? So, you see this book, Escape from Intimacy. So Ann Wilson-Schaef is a addictions therapist who I learned much when I was doing my PhD on. In this particular book, intimacy is her definition of health. She's dealing with addictions and saying, sometimes it's so close what is the disease to the health that we can't even recognize it. And so the subtitle, Untangling the Quote-Unquote Love Addictions, Sex, Romance, and Relationship. So relationship, if somebody says, I just need to be in a relationship, I don't care who it is, I just need to be in a relationship. Do you get that? You don't know anybody that way, I'm sure, right? But the relationship is what they're getting to fix something that's empty inside, and it's a fix for that. All addictions are a fix for something missing inside, something probably grounded in fear, the fear of being seen for real. The nature of romance. I just need to be in a romantic relationship. I need the candlelight dinners. I need the romantic trips. I need that. I don't care who it is. I just need to have those experiences. Ironically, it could be, I even need those with my spouse. I'm glad that that person is there for me, but it's the experiences that I need, not that person. Do you get that? Unfortunately, it's where a lot of people are. Because we don't know how to connect. Marriage is just a corral that you go in and hope that, you have some kids that are good and you send them off. And it's amazing how many couples I get, 22, 23 years married, the kids have just left, and they've just discovered they have no relationship other than what they had for the kids. Right? So they have the third one, sex. I need sex because I need the experience of what it means to be bodily engaged in that. And I don't care who it is, as long as I get that experience. Again, no real relationship, whereas sex in its appropriate relationship is the communion. Right? Song of Solomon chapter 5, beginning, wedding night, eat, drink deep, O lovers. It's the language of communion. It is the act of God's blessing of husband and wife connecting, right? It's the real thing, but unfortunately we have a world where we have so many addictive possibilities that all those are more easily chosen, and people end up with empty lives. So finding intimacy, true intimacy, is mutual knowing and love with persons, both with God as well as other humans, connected with all our differences. One theologian said, one of the great lies we have given is you need to find somebody who thinks or likes the things that you like. If we said to people, find somebody who is as different as they can be and just learn to appreciate the difference so that all your life you're going to keep changing and you can always keep growing into loving and accepting the differences that are there instead of seeing things change where those same things get lost at some point for whatever reason. In family systems, health is the ability to accept who you are and another with their differences, right? Connectedness because you accept difference. Whew. Maybe God does that with us. Health in relating through agreement, which again, I use the word agreement in counseling for covenant. Not what is one or the other going to do to change to meet the other's needs, but how are the two of you going to recognize the relationship needs work? Both of you need to find out what can you both say, I can do that, and go on together because we have created an agreement that we both can live in faithfully with one another. So intimacy with the Father, Son, Spirit, that is our true family of origin. They will always be the one authentically who are ever close. The one who's the closest, the Father, Son, Spirit, no one can get closer than that. A unique love that isn't like our love, it goes beyond our love, because our love is always so conditional, and their love is unconditional. And what do we keep doing? Thinking that their love is like our love, that we have to meet conditions that's actually just a human way of looking at things. We are not alone, we belong. That's our starting point. A healthy heart is an honest heart, true to other persons. One of the statements I make is God's a lot more interested that we be honest than good. Because good implies what? Somebody's a judge. And they're just sitting to see whether you can be good or not. And so suddenly you're in a whole system of judgment based on some criteria of actions or meeting some criteria. Instead of honest, it's just, I'm going to show up available for a relationship, and together we're going to forge a relationship of love together. And it's possible when we're honest. And if we can't be honest, then it will always be an inauthentic, or shall we call it synthetic, sin, S-I-N, synthetic relationship, forged out of our self-interest, fear, and all that. We live together, but not really loving. The heart has its reasons, which reason knows nothing of. So the nature of reason, reason is an essential function of fear. I've got to be reasonable here. Something might go wrong if I haven't thought through all of the issues and all that. Reason is always trying to protect us, and it's afraid of things going wrong, and so we're always wrestling for what's finally reasonable so that I come out okay. Craig McNair Wilson, who worked for Disney, came up with a statement, fear stands like 2 centuries at the door of our mind and says, who goes there? Always questioning what's out there to make sure I'm protected. Reason is a protective form that ultimately isolates and protects. And we think that that's what makes people humans even. It's a basic element, shall we say, of humans versus animals. We happen to have not a golden retriever, we have a Labrador who is more reasonable at being loving than most humans, right? She lives from the emotion of love in a way that only a Labrador could truly do. So the nature of, go back for a second, reason becomes a mask when we say to people, you're not being reasonable, meaning the way I look at things, and that becomes our mask of reasonable, and we discount everyone else. So reason becomes a mask of logic that works for us to discount other people's logics, and hence shuts down our capacity for discovery. To really be reasonable is to be open to discover the world as it is, and people as they are, without having them fit in our boxes. And so when we put on a mask and force them to put on a mask so we can operate with them, we shut down discovery, questions won't be asked. So when is the heart a tool of discovery? Whenever it's aligned with the heart of the Father. We're not here to put you in a cage, lock you in. We're here to discover a world created for love and life and exploration and connections. And yes, I see that hand. Hallelujah. The invitation of come, let us reason together is the sense of come, let us look at what has been and look at the possibility. If you see reason here living with a could rather than a should, we like to read that with a should. Once it's a could, come, let us reason together. Now metanoia happens, the change of our mind, because we meet with the one who is the heart that goes beyond our human reasoning, right? That's why love has reasons that reason does not know. Our human reasoning collapses into the human dimension. The nature of the love of the heart of the Father is a kind of reasoning, but it's one that transforms so that we have the mind of Christ, not shutting us down, opening us up. Great question. Yes?
Do you think the elevation of reason has kind of what's led to like legal-oriented theology, the lack of personal and more penal wrath, judgment?
It keeps growing that way. I mean, what led to it was in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah. Okay.
It's, what happened there, they became judges, and suddenly judgment just began, what's going to work, what's not going to work, and Cain and Abel, and, I killed him, but can you protect me, put a mark on me, protect me? I mean, there's just reasoning with God, self-protection, never mind that I killed my brother, details. right? So the nature of what we call the Enlightenment, which is where humans said, we've had enough of God controlling us, or the church at least. We can pursue reason ourselves. We are enlightened without God. Right? So Karl Barth says, the biggest lie of all is that we don't belong to God. And that's what happened in the Enlightenment. And everything else falls apart from that, right? So, discerning wisdom of God. So the question of when we begin discerning, is what we're thinking, feeling, an echo of the heart of the Father? We could talk for a while about the nature of echoes and mirrors. All these things begin playing out the interaction of recursive. If you take recursion and make it sound, and so harmony, all this language comes in, or of our human desires. So that's the individual. So is it reflecting the heart of the Father, or is it reflecting a human desire for something to be there? Is it aligned with Jesus' words and deeds, his way of being that we come to hear, or conforming to culture? And this doesn't say that culture is bad, right? There are cultures that are actually loving and serving. You have a culture here, right? We want to affirm culture comes from the word cultivate, and that is to grow good things, to plant them, to care for them, to grow them up. If only Jesus had used a parable or two to teach us how to cultivate well, it would be so much easier, wouldn't it? Culture is not bad. It's when our culture is aligned with human desires and ends and not cultivated to bring about the nature of the fruit of the kingdom. Is the Spirit pointing to the Father and the Son in wisdom? So to say, when we read the whole of the Old Testament, you don't see the Spirit's name that much, but to say every act of wisdom and not wisdom, Saul, David, some bad days, they stopped listening and go, that was a bad decision. And David repents, Psalm 51, beautiful psalm, recognizing, take not thy Holy Spirit from me. I made a bad choice. Continue to say yes with your love to me. And of course, God does, because that's who God is. So in the Old Testament, we even have these examples of the Spirit in the heart of the people, always pointing to what does it look like to be restored to the one who is the very source of wisdom, sapientia instead of scientia. Science is our modern world that is the judgment of truth. Has science told us the truth about this? In the Bible, sapiential literature is wisdom literature. Has the wisdom of God's love and life led us to do or think this? It's a different paradigm of thinking. Click. So, distinguishing truth from lies. When God says something that we're called to, it's going to be an expression of love. It's going to call us to connect with somebody, to collaborate with someone, which this is a place of collaboration, as you know. Fear is a form of reverence and honor. It's saying yes to God and recognizing that sometimes the no's that are there, but it's out of honoring God and not out of the fear of getting in trouble. From God, it's personal as a request for closeness in relationship rather than separation. If something is true, it's compelled, convicted, or caring because of the heart of the Father. The love of Christ compels us, is Paul's language there. So to say, is this being compelled by the love of Christ, or because I'm going to make money, or because I'm going to look better, or some other self-oriented thing? Conviction is to say, that wasn't very loving, right? And then you say, wow, that wasn't very loving. I need to go tell this person, what I did to you was not loving. I just have to be honest. And I listened to a voice that wasn't the voice of Father, and I want to apologize. I acknowledge that what I did, confession in Hebrew, in Greek, homologumena, to say the same thing. I agree with God. I didn't do the right thing here. I didn't love you. And I want to let you know that so that we can restore a relationship. From Satan, it's expressed from fear and control. Often we never have the conversation because we're hiding or lying about it, which I've heard two different TV series now where they say the basic thing about humans, both as a doctor and a lawyer, is to recognize the first thing is humans lie. Once you get that, they're not going to tell you the truth walking through the door about what's going on, because they don't want to find out what happened that has caused this disease that might be factors as to why it's going on. People don't want to tell the truth because there are pieces hidden in it that might not work out well. As a lawyer, well, there's all kinds of reasons. Don't tell all kinds of things because you may have some part of why what happened. So you want to keep not everything out there so that you can escape as best as possible. fear as, if it's from Satan, there's the threat of fear, there's insecurity, there's self-protection. Whenever somebody just says, I just need to feel safe, there's all kinds of words like that. It's like, oh, so you live in fear. No, I just said I need to feel comfortable. Yeah, I heard that, and I heard beyond it. You live in fear. You need to feel comfort or safe, and somehow that's become something because you haven't felt that, and it's controlling you. From Satan, the personal is a request for separation. So it's interesting the word personal can mean, I want a more personal relationship, which means what? Closer. Or it can be, you're getting too personal. Distance. Can you hear the difference? Same word, one of them is grounded in fear and the other is grounded in love, right? Our language complicates these things and we don't know how to discern, so we miss it. Click. So the basic identity of who you are. The Spirit wants you to know something that Satan also is going to tell you the opposite. So if I say I belong to myself, then what's your identity? It's all about you. It's all about your choices. It's your self-interest. Versus I belong to God. Your identity is now I'm a beloved child of God. I listen to myself, my experiences, my tribe. Again, that's turned into the human foundation for trying to find a way to go forward. And if we do that, which most people do, you will be led basically away from God. To say, I listen to the Spirit who enables me to hear the heart of the Father and the voice of the Son, that's an everyday kind of thing. It's not Sunday. It's not 15 minutes in the morning. It's every day. It's all day. It's who I am. It's what I do because of it. My identity is in my story of success and accomplishments. This is the party. So who are you and what do you do? And you just list all of your resume of stuff that you do to make yourself look good. Versus my identity is in dwelling in the story of God. My story lives in that story. The context is that story. Eugene Peterson once said, for years I tried to get the Bible into people's lives. I preached great sermons to get the Bible into their lives. And one day I realized, just a minute here, I've got to get them into the story of the Bible. Right? That's the story they're living in. That's the story that gives the drives, the context, the destination, all that we're doing. We got it all wrong. When Karl Barth wrote in his book on Romans, he said he found the strange new world of the Bible. It had always been there. I had read it, but I had never discovered it like I did when I read Romans and found out that God is alive and living and active and doing a work even today. How did I miss this? Well, the scholars in Germany at that point were trying to reduce the Bible to a human document. And so all they could see was human authors with human issues. And when he heard that it was God, a living God who was there, it's like, this is a whole new world. We got to start over from the beginning. So I am comfortable with my persona, which is a mask. It's interesting, the word persona comes from the Greek theater. Tonight I will be playing the person of, and persona, you hear the sona, to speak through. Right? It has the sense of speaking within it, but it's a hidden speaking. And you're not actually being yourself. It's a false kind of speaking. It's the voice of someone else that you're playing. So it's all about mask and appearance. We unfortunately live in a culture where we have thousands of ways to play personas, not so many ways to be authentic. So I am confident as a child of God, honest and living with a humble, open heart. And we could talk about discovery and playfulness and all kinds of other things that are part of that. Click. So this requires just a little bit of story. The month of March of this year, I spent a month in Oklahoma City. Actually, it was Norman, University of Oklahoma. I went to study the science of the personal, and so I had access to the Department of the History of Science. They have the best library in the United States, only second to Cambridge, original Copernicus, Newton documents and everything. And so I went there to study with a friend of mine. I learned more from this one person and her life, in a sense, than I did from all of that. So her name's not up there. that got eliminated. Mercy Tobin is her name. So my friend Carrie, who's the director of it, he said, there's somebody who I want you to know about. I get emotional. It's okay, I get emotional. So Mercy was born into a family where her parents were basically Satan worshipers. They had attempted to kill her several times, and she literally talks about the time where she felt as a child going across the fire, being thrown into the fire, but being taken to the far side, and her father being angry. She grew up with profound abuse. There was one night she was thrown into a garbage can. They left her to die. That night, the big man came to her. He stayed with her through the night. And not just that night, but going on. And the abuse continued, but the big man, who was Jesus, came and saved her and comforted her. She married a man that was part of basically the cult that had been part of. And, they kind of arranged it, and he continued deep levels of abuse. She developed a personality disorder and literally developed thousands of persons within her. And she said, the gift of the Spirit, the gift of the big man, was that he gave me all these ones because no one could survive what it is that had happened. My friend and a group of people gathered around her and worked through the process of getting her out of the abusive marriage that was in. The husband had turned the kids away from her so they'd have nothing to do with her, so she had been alone in the world. So they came alongside and literally worked with her for a number of years and were able to bring her to a place of health. And it was a picture of, she is a dramatic picture of a broken life dealing with trauma. And I just think people deal with this all over the place. But she ended up writing poetry as the big man took her to the place where he would wash the ones. A stream of healing. And she entered into the new time. And the new time was to live with the big man who taught her what love and forgiveness and grace looked like. So there are 3 books of poems she's written. This is just one that I think is particularly important in light of all that we've been saying. And it's called About Us, and it's referring to all of the ones that are within her. We have one body, but there are lots of us inside that body. Ones, we call us. Lots of ones for lots of pain that needed to be carried. Too much for only one person. It is our healer's gift to us. He has made us, each one for a time, when too much pain would crush one, only one. We are learning that he has made us with a purpose in his image. He is 3 in 1. There are many more of us than 3, and we have had walls, and still usually do, between each for protection. We each have not known each other's pain, so we could still walk through life and not be crushed from the weight of what has been done to us. Now, we have been rescued and are learning what it means to be safe. Slowly, our healer is helping us see that we can be friends and learn from each other and from him. Each of us is either what we call an inside one or an outside one. Some just can't come out. They're still too much in fear. Outside ones are the ones brave enough to be out by people. They have known less pain than the inside ones. Inside ones hide inside, for they carry more pain and are more scared of people. You can literally hear her when the different ones come out. Her voice changes, her demeanor changes as the different ones come out. The deeper inside one comes from the deeper the pain that one holds. In the old time, we, especially the inside ones, were taught that we each were bad. In this new time, our rescuer and healer has given us each his heart and is teaching us that we were lied to. In the old time, we each, both inside and outside ones, had pain that filled us. In this new time, our healer is setting us free from the ugly lies and the overwhelming pain. Our story is a story of hope. We who once believed we were the most bad and of the most bad have been rescued by him who is hope, and we have been given a place with him forever. So I watched a couple of videos before I actually did meet her. She's, I think, in her 70s now. So this happened over a lifetime. She just last week moved. I can't remember if it might even be in Texas, to be with her children, who finally were able to recognize the lies of their father and what had been told. And so she's still a journey of healing. In the neighborhood she just left, everyone knew her because she walked the neighborhood and told her story. And people say, you know, aren't you upset that all of this happened and that you have all these ones? She says, absolutely not. The big man has shown me the way that he provided all of this to support me and to be with me in all of it. I give it all to God. He has provided the way for even the healing process to happen for me. When I think about the nature of the guiding of spirit, she is an extreme example that none of us have dealt with, I hope. And there are other people who are possibly that. But I think most of us carry in us the hiding, the ugly pain, the lies about us, all of those things. And we need to know the one who rescues us, the one who heals us. And the Spirit is the one who comes and speaks these words. And it takes us to the new place. And for me, just the power of her story, it left an impact, obviously you can tell. To go, this is the God who we're talking about. It's not just a God of theology books or anything like that. It's the one who meets the deepest, darkest of tragedies and comes out with a story of somebody who can wander the neighborhood and tell the good news of the big man who rescued her. That is profound. Mercy Tobin. I think Mercy was a taken on name. I can't remember fully on that. I have 2 of her books that I'll bring with me tonight. If you're interested, and you can look at those for our question and answer. The third one that this is in actually didn't have, so I had my friends scan it and send it to me for today. But so anyway, we'll go ahead and move on from that. So again, we're going to do this. This is called People Sometimes Don't Want to Get Out of Bed, and I want them to still do the embodied prayer. Or you're sitting in an airport and you don't want everybody to be looking at you if you want to do it. So you're not going to stand up for this one. You're going to do it as though you're laying in bed or just sitting there. And so I want you to just recognize that what I'm giving you are just seeds of beginning to think about a whole body, whole mind, whole heart life that lives in this dialogue of hearing and responding. It's as simple as that. And so this one here we use pretty much just the hands. So we do need you to get your hands out. You know, if you don't have your hands out, then... So for the Father speaking to us, to just, instead of doing the above, just go replace like this. So that's the hands of the Son and the Spirit over your heart, saying, you are my beloved child. And then we respond by interlocking our fingers and saying, Abba, I belong to you. It's an interlocked life. And then with the Son, it's easy. We still do the interlocked, I am with you and for you always. That's not changed that much. And so then for the nature of the dance, to just slide our palms and see a life of kind of like you'd almost warm your hands on a cold night, that our life is being warmed into life as we crucify and die in the old and say, Jesus, I live in you. And then with the Spirit, the sense of the Spirit as the one who says to us, I'm here to empower you for your life of love. I kind of think, I'm getting ready to go out into the cold, and so I'm warming my hands, and so the Spirit's saying, I'm here to empower you for a life of love. On your skis, here we go. Right? And there's the energizing sense of the Spirit in that as well. And then the nature of I go with you is, it's almost like you're taking off into the world. I go with you. Spirit, I go with you, launched into the world. So again, I'm just wanting you to begin to live into these prayers and to invite your body to help confirm it. Often I can just lay there at night and not actually use my hands at all. I just think through the bodily motions. But thinking through the body brings the presence, the embrace of the Father, brings those things into play. Do you want to do it again? I hear and receive that request. So, to just go like this, that's the "You are my beloved child" over our hearts. And then we respond to the Father, "Abba, I belong to you," and there we're interlocked with our fingers. And then with the Son, "I am with you and for you always." Did you get that? I'm with you always. And then we respond with our palms sliding side to side. "Jesus, I live in you." It's in the same way we were dancing. We're just doing the side movement. And then with the Spirit, "I am here to empower you for a life of love." Get those hands warm so you can feel the heat of the fire. And then launch. "Spirit, I go with you." Okay. So again, I've talked about the Paraclete. I want to take it one step further. We've talked about the Paraclete, Paraclete, when called alongside to help. The Father is the Paraclete, the Son is the Paraclete, the Spirit is the Paraclete, and you are the Paraclete. We are called to be those who the Spirit empowers to go out and be those who come alongside to help. And again, as it continues on there in 2 Corinthians, it has this whole sense that we come alongside others, that they may come alongside others, that they may come alongside others. So to say the very nature of the church is not a place where we merely come to worship God, but it's where we are fully paracleted so that as we go out, we are being like paramedics. We're on the front lines of our neighborhoods, our communities, our families, to bring people into relationship with the source, the center of life, the hospital, so to speak, the one who heals our souls, as Mercy found. So a paracletic church, nobody thinks somebody else is doing it. It's just a question, where is my part in the paracleting? Who comes alongside me? And who is it that I come alongside? Those are the questions we ask. Click. So in this particular prayer, and we'll go ahead and just read these together without doing the hand motions, and just recognize these are the pieces that we've been talking about, but we want to pay attention to the words. And this is particularly attending to the role of the Spirit in these. So let's go ahead and say these together. "You are my beloved child, to whom I have sent my Spirit." That's the Father. "Abba, I belong to you, sealed by your Spirit. I am with you and for you always by my Spirit." That's Jesus' voice. "Jesus, I live in you, sustained by your Spirit." And then the Spirit, "I am here to empower you for a life of love as the Spirit who makes you whole." And we respond, "Spirit, I go with you into a world of embrace." I'm looking for Siva. Sylvia, is she here? Oh, there you are. Would you mind just telling the story of your mother? Yes. You had your cup up, so.
When I was 7 years old, my parents were about to get divorced, and they. No? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, when I was 7 years old, my parents were about to get divorced, and they met Jesus. And I'm the oldest of 5. And when my parents met Jesus, they came into our home, and they asked us for forgiveness for their the way that they treat each other as a marriage. And after they ask us for the forgiveness, they ask us if we want to receive Jesus in our hearts. And we say yes. If that Jesus changed your marriage, we want him. And then after we open our hearts for him, my mom asked us, would you like to feel the embrace of Jesus? And we say yes. And my mom says, would you please put your hands like this? And the 5 of us, we did it. And she says, close your eyes and you will see his love over you. And I remember I closed my eyes and I put my hands like that. And since that day until today, I felt his embrace. And I know that he's real because I felt him face to face and I feel his arms over me. But the cool part is that last year, someone came to me in this conference and says, Sylvia, after you tell the story, I know why do you love to hug others. It's just because he hugs you first. And until today, I feel that embrace.
I just felt that story captures so much of what it means to live in the embrace that we're talking about here. So for our last thing, we're going to stand up and one more time do together the whole of our piece together. If you don't mind. Okay, here we go. So the Father says to us, you are my beloved child. And we say in response, Abba, I belong to you. And the Son says, I am with you and for you always. And we say to Jesus, Jesus, I live in you. And the Spirit says, I'm here to empower you for a life of love. And we respond with that lovely dive into the world. Spirit, I go with you. We pick that world up and we hand it to the open arms of the Father, knowing that he is the one who embraces us. And so, Father, Son, Spirit, we stand here with our hearts, with our lives open wide to you and pray that you would acknowledge that we are your sons and daughters in a way we could never imagine and will forever be discovering. Help us to let your love flood our heart, flow through our words and our actions, so that this isn't just an occurrence of the past, but that it's a transforming moment of being flooded by your love in a way that breaks the dams of our heart wide open, so that the fresh water of your Spirit and life might flow out through us to the people and places you call us to be. Do these things, we pray you in your name, you who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Just to whet your appetite, tomorrow in the time that we have in